She is the sexiest woman in the world, but now she goes to meet other man behind her husband's back, and also wearing a super short leather skirt, brown curly hair, it doubles the charm of woman. Then she plays a game with the man. Although the small leather whip is slightly painful on the body, her black silk long legs make him not want to stop. At this time she comes behind the man.
You've been selling big guns to bad people.
Then she wrenches the man's neck. It turns out that women are not a cool girl that everyone imagines. Jane is a top hitman. At this time, the bodyguards outside also notice the abnormality. When they break down the door, Jane has used tools prepared in advance, and jumps off the roof. As Jane lands safely, she just takes a taxi and leaves here. In the eyes of her husband, Jane is an executive of an internet company. In the eyes of his wife, John is a contractor for a construction company. The two have been married for 6 years. They don't know each other's real identity. Actually, when Jane jumped off the building just now, John was also on his own mission. With his precise marksmanship and agility, it can tell that he is also the top killer. The two met by chance during a mission. Each other's charm makes them attracted to each other. The two decide to get married after 6 short weeks. At first, the friends around them were not optimistic about them. Unexpectedly, the two have been together for 6 years. Regrettably, they both hide their true identities. They are actually more compatible than imagined. One night, the two receive the phone calls at the same time. Jane says it is her mother calling. John says it is about work. None of them ask much. After saying goodnight, the two are more excited than usual, because they all received new tasks. Early the next morning, John leaves with his suitcase for a business trip. He first comes to a warehouse in the courtyard. There's all kinds of debris on the surface. In fact, there are a variety of weapons hidden in the basement below, and Jane's arsenal is even more secretive. With its fingerprint authentication, under the microwave where they usually cook, an exquisite weapon box also appears. There are all kinds of weapons in it. She picks 2 weapons at random. After Jane arrives at the company, she also knows that the target of this mission is a curly-haired man named Benjamin. Meanwhile, John is also checking his tasks. Unexpectedly, this time their mission target turn out to be the same person. Jane is the first to rush to the place where the target must pass. She plants mines in the ground ahead of time, just waits for the enemy to throw himself into the trap. While Jane is sitting on the sidelines, suddenly a vehicle appears. It just knocks over the annunciator placed by Jane. Seeing this, Jane picks up the binoculars and looks, and finds that a man has drawn his weapon, so picks up the weapon and shoots. Luckily John put on the body armor before the mission. After he gets up, he just fires RPG. At this time, the trap set by Jane is also triggered in advance. The violent explosion makes the target notice the anomaly. They quickly retreat immediately. In the end, both missions end in failure. After Jane returns to headquarters, she gets a call from her boss. Because of the particularity of the profession, Jane and John are simultaneously tasked with killing each other. If the opponent cannot be killed within the specified time, they will be targeted for removal by their respective companies. John finds the opponent's laptop at the scene, decoded by technicians. The billing address of the computer turns out to be the company where his wife works, and Jane is also the CEO of this company. On Jane's side, she is watching opponent's video repeatedly. As she zooms in, the man's boots seem familiar. Hubby John has a pair, exactly the same. Jane already has a guess in her mind. Just then John calls too. He reminds Jane to be home at 7 o'clock for dinner. The two rush home immediately. It's going to be a wonderful dinner tonight. This is a dinner between the husband and wife. Jane hands her husband a drink first, but John is afraid of being poisoned, turns around and pours it quietly into the flower pot. Immediately afterwards, Jane prepares to divide the barbecue. John hurriedly snatches the cutting knife from his wife to help. Unexpectedly, Jane turns around and takes out a longer knife from the apron, and begins to cut the bread. Facing the usual favorite beef, John chews a lot of times and dares not swallow. Seeing Jane bowing her head to eat, he quickly vomits the beef into the handkerchief. Now it's John's turn to test his wife. As Jane pours her drink, accidentally drops the bottle on purpose. Unexpectedly, Jane's instinctive reaction instantly catches the wine bottle. At this time Jane also finds her mistake. She hastily puts down the bottle again. How can an ordinary housewife have such a reaction? At this time, they have already confirmed each other's identities. Unexpectedly, the couple who shared the same bed for 6 years turn out to be top professional killers. John quickly draws his weapon, but Jane has already driven away. Seeing this, John immediately chases after her. He actually wants to talk with Jane, but John accidentally shoots the gun. Looking at the bullet hole in the glass, Jane is stunned, not expecting her husband just shot her. John is about to explain, but Jane steps on the gas pedal, just knocks John out. When John breaks through the car window, However, Jane jumps out of the car. For the first time fight between the two, Jane is slightly better. Then the two spend a sleepless night. They know they still love each other. Wait until the next morning. Jane brings her team to the house. She wants to find out John's real identity, but watching their doll being torn apart, Jane still couldn't help frowning. When John comes back home, Jane has packed everything in the house, even his arsenal, ransacked clean. But John isn't frightened. He goes directly to Jane's company. They detect an intrusion immediately. Jane calls John to stall for time. The other side orders the team to evacuate immediately and destroy anything which cannot be taken away. They slid directly to the opposite gate with the equipment. When John rushes in here, he only sees the back of Jane, but John doesn't gain nothing. He finds Jane's other secret base in the still burned file. This is an unfinished building. John immediately follows the address to find it. However, Jane has prepared in advance, traps John in the elevator, and she's already planted a bomb on the cable. Jane then tells John, as long as he flees immediately, thinking about the relationship between the two, she can let him go. But John doesn't believe Jane would fire the bomb.
Go on, blow it.
You think I won't?
I think you won't.
This is a normal couple bickering, but the assistant next to Jane, who has never been in a relationship, takes it serious. She presses the switch of the bomb directly. The elevator immediately falls from the 70th floor. This scares Jane very much. She rushes out immediately to check the situation, while on the other side, the elevator door opens slowly. John is in another elevator. It turns out that he has already switched the monitoring screens of the two elevators, but John doesn't have the joy of surviving, because he thinks Jane really wants to kill him. At night, Jane comes to the restaurant where John proposed to her, but now she's the only one here, and cries silently. This is her last condolences to John. Just when Jane raises her glass, a familiar hand holds her. It is John who pours her the drink. Jane bursts into laughter instantly, but he still takes the gun and puts it quietly in his arm. They have been in love with each other since the first time they met, but guard against each other. The two actually know, even if they don't kill each other, the companies will not let them go. Then Jane pretends to go to the bathroom. She detonates the bomb inside, creates confusion. Then she also follows the crowd and takes the opportunity to slip away. When John chases outside, Jane is gone. Just at this time, there is a ticking sound coming from John. Turns out it is Jane who planted a miniature bomb in his suit. This really pisses John off. He doesn't expect Jane to try to kill him twice. John goes home immediately. However, Jane has arrived one step ahead of him. Never seen couple arguing like this. The two take up arms at the same time. They are both top professional killers. In an instant, the house is on fire, and it is more like a battlefield. Both of them pick up weapons and start shooting like crazy, but obviously they don't use all their power. When all the bullets are fired, none of them are hurt. Seeing this, John rushes over to fight hand to hand, but no matter how you look at it, it looks like flirting. Gradually, they all suffer minor injuries, but the two still don't agree with each other. Then they turn over and take up their weapons at the same time. The two stand with guns, but none of them choose to shoot. The two just look at each other quietly. In the end, it is John who puts down his weapon first.
Don't! Come on! Come on!
Although Jane says she doesn't love John, but she still can't pull the trigger. Then the two hug each other tightly. After a 10-minute in-depth communication, the two have settled down. Together they waited for dawn in the ruins, but the company will not let them go. The company has offered all killers for the mission. Immediately, there are killers coming here. Just when the two are lingering, killers have surrounded them. The two have to start evading immediately. Just when they look for weapons to fight back, unexpectedly, a robot breaks in with a bomb. Seeing the bomb falls under their feet, Jane kicks it out of the way. However, the bomb lands right under the weapon depot. Seeing this, the two immediately start to run away. With the sound of a violent explosion, the house is directly razed to the ground. Killers, who are too late to react, are also killed. The couple narrowly escape death. Then they immediately drive away, but the company's hunt continues. They decide to find the previous mission target. This may give them a way out from the companies. With the help of friends, they quickly lock onto the target location. Then the couple join force and get the target. Next, during the interrogation, they also finally know the truth of the whole thing. It turns out that this is actually a conspiracy by the company. The target is just a decoy. The companies of both sides have long discovered that the two married privately. That's why they planned everything, so to get a reason to root them out. And there is also a tracker on the target. The company's killers have found it here. Facing so many killers, they can only hide in shopping malls with more complicated terrain. Meanwhile, the two change their clothes to beautiful suits. But the killers have already found here. Jane picks up the throwing knife and makes a quick attack, knocks down a killer before he can react. But the accuracy is sometimes a little bit off. This makes John wonder if Jane is out for revenge. Later, the killers also discover them, so they can only fight back while running away. Although their capabilities are top-notch in the industry, the number of killers is endless. Next, John is in charge of getting killers' attention, and Jane makes a precise snipe on the crossbar. With the tacit cooperation of the husband and wife, the killers are brought down one after another. Seeing this, the rest of the killers rush over together. Soon after, both of their clothes are beaten to pieces. Fortunately, they all put on the body armor in advance. Otherwise, the two would have died countless times. They hide in the warehouse for a short rest. Knowing that there is no way out, the two rush out with the determination to die. Under the halo of the powerful protagonist, the enemy's bullets are all out. The weapons of the two are flawless. Even RPG attack can be easily dodged. Husband and wife work closely together, cover each other. They pose in all kinds of pretty poses. Finally defeat all the enemies gorgeously. At the end of the movie, the couple also reunite, believe after this life and death experience, their relationship will also become deeper.